This is the untold story of the Caribbean's deepest secret, a war that was fought and lost beneath the surface of paradise, and then systematically erased from history. While the official narrative of World War II places German U-boats briefly in the Caribbean Sea during 1942's Operation Drumbeat, a deeper, far more terrifying secret persisted through 1944, a clandestine, permanent Nazi base hidden within the remote, volcanic islands, codenamed Base B2, or the Sunken Fortress. This base was not for refueling. It was the secret testing ground for the ultimate weapon of silent submarine warfare, the sonic torpedo. This knowledge triggered an immediate, highly classified U.S. response, Operation Sailor, a direct-action mission to neutralize the threat. The U.S. Navy deployed its most elite, newly formed Naval Combat Demolition Unit, NCDU, the direct predecessors to the modern SEALs, to infiltrate and destroy the facility. But the American team vanished without a trace, leaving behind only rumors of a ghost base and a silent, lethal conflict that the U.S. Navy officially denies ever happened. The official history of the U-boat threat in the Caribbean ends in mid-1943, but captured intelligence reports from early 1944 paint a different picture. These reports, heavily redacted and buried within the archives of the Office of Naval Intelligence, ONI, suggested continued, unexplained sinkings of Allied merchant ships in remote Caribbean passages. The pattern was anomalous. Ships were destroyed instantly, without warning, and often with minimal hull damage, inconsistent with standard torpedo hits. This pointed to an experimental weapon being deployed from a permanent forward base. The rumors coalesced around a location in the Lesser Antilles, an area riddled with deep volcanic vents and underwater caves, a perfect natural camouflage for a hidden submarine base. This site, Base B2, was not built on the surface. It was a pressurized, submerged concrete facility designed to operate two large Type 9 U-boats and, crucially, a detachment of naval scientists testing their latest terror, the Skull Torpedo sonic torpedo. The Skull Torpedo was a radical acoustic weapon designed to home in on the cavitation, propeller noise of Allied ships, making it virtually impossible to evade. Its speed and silent delivery mechanism were terrifying. The threat was deemed so critical that by early 1944, the U.S. Navy authorized Operation Sailor, a swift, surgical strike intended to eliminate Base B2 and capture the Skull Torpedo technology. The mission was entrusted to the newly formed NCDU, a small, highly trained unit specializing in infiltration and underwater demolition. The team, known internally as Plank 6, was delivered to the area aboard the USS Shark, a Gatto-class submarine specially modified to deploy the divers and provide remote support. The plan was audacious: penetrate the hidden base entrance and destroy the facility and the torpedo prototype from the inside. The USS Shark and NCDU Plank 6 were never heard from again. Officially, the Shark was listed as lost in the Pacific, cause unknown, a deliberate geographical misattribution intended to throw any future inquiry off the scent of the Caribbean. The entire NCDU Plank 6 roster was expunged, their records merged with unrelated casualties. This total erasure confirmed the absolute sensitivity of Operation Sailor. Our own investigation began by focusing on the supposed area of the base, using advanced sonar to map the volcanic seabed near a cluster of small, uninhabited islands. After months of painstaking work, we discovered a deep, narrow channel, a feature that matched the description of a volcanic vent. And within it, we found the unmistakable signature of man-made concrete and steel. This was it, the submerged entrance to Base B2. If you're ready to dive with us to expose the lost technology that could have armed the Nazis for decades and discover the final, terrifying fate of the elite U.S. Navy NCDU team, hit that subscribe button right now. Give this video a like and stick with us until the very end, because the truth about the missing ghost base is protected by a horror you won't believe. Our initial ROV deployment confirmed the sheer audacity of the German engineering. The base entrance was a massive, heavily camouflaged concrete archway, seamlessly integrated into the volcanic rock face, covered in vibrant coral and tropical growth, making it utterly invisible from the surface. The deep water pen was large enough to house a Type 9 U-boat, confirming the scale of the threat. The most critical find, however, was located just outside the entrance. Lying half-buried in the white coral sand, far from any natural wreckage, was the skeletal remains of one of the NCDU Frogmen. His heavy brass Mark V diving helmet was tilted, revealing the empty sockets, and one skeletal hand was outstretched. Crucially, in his other hand, fused by time and corrosion, he still clutched a small, cylindrical metallic marker, a demolition timer or marker pin, bearing the unmistakable U.S. Navy NCDU stamp. The American team had reached the target and was in the process of setting the charges. But what stopped them? And where was the USS Shark? The key to the NCDU's demise lay closer to the base entrance, where we found the first physical evidence of the Skull Torpedo itself. The discovery of the NCDU Frogman, his hand fused to the demolition marker outside the entrance to Base B2, confirmed the terrible truth. Operation Sailor was executed, but it failed catastrophically. The question remained, how did an elite team of U.S. Navy combat divers, operating with the element of surprise, get neutralized so completely and silently? Our ROV, navigating the dense coral growths near the concrete archway, located the first piece of German equipment left behind. It was a massive, cylindrical weapon casing, heavily scarred but recognizable as a unique, experimental German torpedo, the Skull Torpedo itself. The torpedo was embedded nose first in the volcanic rock, its complex acoustic sensor array shattered. The Skull Torpedo was not armed, but its casing provided the critical clue. It bore deep, non-explosive scrape marks, suggesting it was dragged and then abandoned. More importantly, attached to the torpedo's tail fins was a short, heavily corroded section of heavy, braided steel cable. This cable was far too thick to be standard U-boat mooring line. Cross-referencing this cable signature with recovered German naval equipment revealed its origin. It was a specialized tow cable used by the Kriegsmarine only for live recovery of experimental weapons. This confirmed that the Germans were not just testing the Skull Torpedo from the safety of Base B2, but were actively recovering fired prototypes from the deep, potentially to study their failures or to reuse components. This was the final, terrifying piece of the puzzle. The NCDU team did not walk into an empty base. They walked into a live, actively patrolling recovery operation. The silent confrontation likely began when the NCDU team, placing charges near the base entrance, encountered the German recovery vessel and its diving team. The Americans, focused on demolition, were suddenly engaged by a hidden enemy. But the true answer to the NCDU's demise was found inside the wreckage of the USS Shark. After locating the sub, the ROV confirmed the devastating truth. The Shark had been destroyed not by a single, powerful torpedo, but by multiple precise impacts. The hull showed signs of being breached from above, consistent with a short-range, high-speed vertical attack. We then found the sonar dome. It was completely shattered, melted by an intense, localized heat blast. This was the work of an enemy far more advanced than expected. The destruction of the USS Shark, which was providing remote support and communications, was a deliberate, surgical strike to blind and silence the entire operation. Who delivered the killing blow? The evidence pointed to another German experimental weapon, the Meerspin Sea Spider, a small, remote-controlled submersible drone designed for close-range acoustic disruption and demolition. The Meerspin was deployed from Base B2 during the NCDU infiltration. It successfully located the Shark by homing in on its high-frequency communications and deployed a specialized charge that fused the sonar dome and silenced the sub, leaving the NCDU team isolated and doomed. With their extraction point gone, the American divers were trapped. The final confrontation must have occurred inside the base entrance, where the surviving NCDU Frogmen retreated after the Shark was silenced. They were hunted down by the German base personnel, who knew every angle of the submerged fortress. The most chilling discovery was made inside a small, ventilation passage near the main gate. The passage was deliberately blocked with a massive pile of rubble. Within this blockage, the ROV located a single, tattered U.S. Navy identification card fused to a piece of coral belonging to Chief Petty Officer, CPO, Jack Riley, the leader of NCDU Plank 6. He was the last man standing, trying to escape or seal the base, but trapped and silenced. His presence inside the blockage confirms the tragic ending. The U.S. Navy SEALs did not just vanish. They were cornered and killed in a silent, forgotten battle that the U.S. government covered up for 80 years to deny the existence of the devastating Skull torpedo technology, which the Germans almost perfected on their ghost base in the Caribbean. The elimination of a USS Shark by the Mearspin drone and the discovery of CPO Riley's ID confirmed the tragic demise of the NCDU Plank 6. The U.S. Special Forces were cornered and killed, victims of silent, highly advanced German defense system operating from Base B2. But the mystery of the base's internal operations and the ultimate fate of the most crucial German secrets remained. We had found the Skull torpedo casing and the evidence of the German recovery team. But the base itself, the command center, the armory, and the personnel quarters remained sealed, protected by the sheer complexity of its submerged design. Our team focused on the massive concrete archway, the only known entrance to Base B2. The German engineering was flawless, utilizing pressure seals and internal ballast tanks to regulate the water level. However, near the top of the archway, our ROV detected a subtle structural anomaly, a large, discolored area of concrete that did not match the surrounding volcanic rock or coral growth. Closer inspection revealed that the German engineers had used a specific type of composite concrete unique to high-pressure environments, and this section had sustained a massive, non-explosive internal force. This was the final desperate act of the NCDU team leader, CPO Riley. Before being cornered, he had managed to detonate a small, localized charge inside the ballast tank, intended to permanently disable the base's pressure seals. The charge failed to collapse the base, but successfully jammed the main entrance mechanism, trapping the German personnel inside and preventing the further deployment of the Skull torpedo. With the main entrance jammed, we searched for the secondary emergency exit, relying on the pattern of German naval construction uncovered in previous investigations, e.g., Base Goblin. We located a small, heavily corroded emergency hatch on the side of the concrete structure, disguised by a thick layer of tropical sediment. Using specialized hydraulic cutters, we managed to breach the seal and gain access to the base's interior. The air inside was trapped and stagnant, the water thick with fine silt, creating a claustrophobic, dark environment. The first chamber we entered was the maintenance bay, where the true operational secret of Base B2 was revealed. Lined along the walls of the maintenance bay were racks of Skull torpedo components, the complex acoustic guides, sensor arrays, and propulsion systems. But the most significant find was a large, specialized diving suit on a stand, far more complex than standard German combat diver gear. This suit was designed for deep-sea endurance and bore the unique markings of the Kriegsmarine Experimental Weapons Division. Clutched in the suit's skeletal hand was a logbook sealed in a metal case. The logbook, belonging to Dr. Eric Voss, the lead naval scientist at Base B2, detailed the final, panicked hours of the base. Dr. Voss recorded the NCDU raid and Riley's successful sabotage of the main gate. The base was crippled, unable to deploy more torpedoes. But the log also revealed a crucial, final detail. The base had successfully hidden the ultimate prize, the master copy of the Skull torpedo's acoustic guidance system, in a small, pressure-sealed safe outside the base perimeter. Voss's log detailed a final, desperate order from the German High Command. The base must be sealed, and all critical technology must be relocated to a deep-sea rendezvous point, far from the Caribbean. Voss states that he personally placed the master guidance system, the core secret of the Skull torpedo, into a small, high-density titanium safe, attached it to a depth marker buoy, and jettisoned it through a waste chute moments before CPO Riley's sabotage attempt jammed the gate. The German High Command intended to recover it later. The log ends with Voss preparing to scuttle the base himself to prevent Allied capture. The base B-2 was not fully conquered by the NCDU. It was self-destructed by its own scientists. Our mission was not yet over. The real secret of the Caribbean Ghost Base, the Skull Torpedo's master guidance system, is still out there, floating or sinking, awaiting recovery. The tragic sacrifice of the NCDU team gave the U.S. Navy the location of the base, but Dr. Voss ensured the ultimate technological prize was still in play. The ultimate secret of Base B-2 was not the base itself, but the deliberate jettisoning of the Skull Torpedo's master acoustic guidance system into the deep ocean by Dr. Eric Voss. The sacrifice of CPO Jack Riley and the NCDU team secured the base, but Voss ensured the ultimate technological prize was still in play, hidden within a small titanium safe attached to a depth marker buoy. Our final mission was to trace the trajectory of that buoy and recover the guidance system before the strong Caribbean currents dragged it into the immense, volatile deep. We initiated a highly complex hydrological survey, modeling the deep currents that would have affected a lightweight, high-density buoy drop from the base's position. The model predicted a probable resting zone along the edge of a deep-sea volcanic plateau, an area characterized by extremely unstable, sharp geological formations. After 3 weeks of searching, our sonar detected a faint, intermittent signal, a tiny metallic ping that matched the high-frequency beacon expected from the German depth marker. We located the prize, the titanium safe, still attached to the heavily corroded buoy assembly, wedged precariously between two towering volcanic chimneys over 1,000 meters deep. The recovery operation was slow and agonizing, utilizing custom-built deep-sea manipulators to avoid destabilizing the fragile arrangement. The safe was finally brought to the surface, and upon opening, the contents were astonishingly well preserved. Inside, protected by a dense, oil-filled chamber, was the Skull Torpedo's master acoustic guidance disc, a complex, delicate piece of machinery made of non-corrosive metals and unique crystalline components designed to filter ambient noise and home in solely on the target's propeller cavitation. This was the technological leap that the entire operation sailor was launched to destroy. With this disc, any nation could have quickly developed a torpedo capable of defeating Allied naval power. But the safe contained one final, chilling document, Dr. Voss's operational log for the final day. The log detailed that the American NCDU team leader, CPO Jack Riley, was not killed by the German base personnel. Instead, Riley was successfully cornered. But before the Germans could capture him, he detonated the charges he had already placed on the base's vital secondary power coupling. This detonation, which caused the critical pressure loss and led to the base's scuttling, gave Voss the final minutes he needed to jettison the guidance disc. Voss, realizing the war was lost, allowed Riley to complete his mission. The log concluded with Voss's final thought: the Americans were brave. Their fate will be forgotten, but their action has secured the world from this terror. We sink our own terror. The base was scuttled, not to protect the secret from the Allies, but to protect the world from the technology. The true sacrifice of the NCDU Plank 6 team, led by CPO Jack Riley, was therefore far greater than anyone knew. They were not merely lost. They successfully executed a sabotage mission so devastating that it forced the German command to self-destruct their most dangerous weapon program and their most sensitive base. The subsequent U.S. Navy cover-up, erasing the entire Operation Sailor and misreporting the USS Shark's loss, was a calculated move to prevent any nation from searching the Caribbean for the guidance disc or the base itself. The silence of the deep became the world's most secure vault, protecting humanity from the ghost weapon of the Caribbean. We have retrieved the final piece of the terror and finally acknowledged the sacrifice of the elite frogmen who fought and died in a forgotten, silent war in the warm Caribbean depths. What do you think? Accident or a mission deliberately erased and left on the ocean floor?